Hi, my name is Alex Feisley, and today I'm going to give you a quick demo of how users work in Netmaker EE. So for those of you unfamiliar, Netmaker is a virtual networking platform built on top of kernel WireGuard. So it gives you a lot of features, kind of like OpenVPN or Tailscale or Zero Tier, but with really blazing fast speeds and a lot of the management tools that you'd expect and want for building anything from remote access networks to mesh VPNs. So in Community Netmaker, we have some simple users functionality, but in Enterprise, we get a lot more advanced with our users. So if you're looking to use Enterprise, you can actually use it for free by going to dashboard.license.netmaker.io. And here you can purchase a license or use a free tier license for your server. Now, the only caveat there is it limits you to one user for Pro. So that means actually you won't be able to use what we're showing you here today. So for that, you'll need a paid license. Now, just to show you what that looks like. So when you log into users, usually you get this create user screen and you can create admins and non-admin users. And that's what you get in community. Admins get full access over the platform, and the non-admin, or we actually call them network admins. So you create admins, which have full access over the whole platform, call them super admins. And then the network admins, they'll have admin access over a very particular network or set of networks. So in Netmaker EE, we get a lot more advanced with it. And if you're looking to learn about that, you can go to our docs and look at how users work. So to go through it a little bit, in Netmaker EE, we have several levels of users. So we also have our super users, our full admins still, which is above this system. But then within this, we have a network admin, we have node access, remote access, and no access. So let's take a look at what that actually looks like. So here I have a bunch of users, and I'm going to log in with my Gmail actually. So let's log out, and actually let's take a look at this guy. So he has no access to any networks right now, or rather the one he's in. Let's take a look there. So if we look at his permissions, it's level 3, so that's no access. So let's log out and then log in as this user. And so we get a login screen, but there's nothing here because he doesn't have access to anything. So that's, basically what level 3 looks like. And so let's log out and log in as the admin. Okay, so we're back here with our admin permissions, and we're going to look at Gravital Corp on our office network. So we're going to go down here and let's increase his access to level 2, which is remote access. And this actually gives him the ability to create EXT clients, or external clients as we call them, which are pure WireGuard config files. And let's give him the ability to create one of those. So this only actually is usable if we have an ingress gateway on our network, which luckily we have 2 of those. So we should be good to go. And so let's log back out now and log in as our user. So here we are as Gravital Corp. Let's take a look here. It might take a minute there to update his access. Actually, we might need to check our cookies. So let's do that. Oh, okay, there we go. So it's refreshed the data, and we now have access to the office network. So if we click on that, you see we have this remote access panel. So we click on that, and we are able to create one client. So here we are, and let's create one. And there we go. We have our external client, which we can download and use to access the network. And so I could do that by, downloading that file. And then let's go over here So now I have access to this whole network via our remote access gateway. And as you can see, if we try to create another one, we can't because we already created our one client and we only have one available. And that's pretty much it. So let's log out and log back in as the admin. Okay, so we're back here as the admin, and let's go back to our user screen. We're going to go back to user permissions on the network, and let's increase that again to 1, which gives the ability to create nodes on the network. So we do that, and let's give a node limit of 1 and submit. So again, this will probably take a second to update once we log back in, but let's do that. So we log out and we log in as our user. And let's take a look here. So again, we're waiting for that data to refresh. Might take a minute or two. We're moving pretty fast there. But yeah, once it loads that, we'll be able to access another screen there. So we go here and we are able to access the nodes page now. In addition to remote access, which we had before, we now have nodes. So here we are only able to see our own nodes on the network. So obviously there's nothing showing here, despite there being many nodes on the network. And we're actually going to want to join this network as our own user. So we can actually do this via SSO. So let's go over here, and do we have that command? So we're going to run net client join the office network and specify our office network gateway here, and then we get our login URL. Let's go to that. Okay, so it's now authenticated. Going back here, we see we are in the network. And what is the difference between a remote access and a node in the network? Well, a node in the network actually has access to all the machines in that network. And yeah, you can see that it gets that direct access, and we can also treat it as a node in the UI. So going back here, we can see it as a node. It has its own dedicated address. We can delete it. And it has a bunch of network details which are automatically managed by the network agent. So that's that level 1 access, and then we can log out. And log back in. And back here we can see in the user's dashboard once more. Let's go to that user permission, and we can increase to 0, which is a network admin. So we create that, we log out, we log in, and we gotta wait for that data to load once again. So once that data loads, we should be able to see some new things here. So we can actually edit a network. We can create access keys for that network and do some fun stuff there. So here we're able to create access keys for our network so that other people can join, and actually we can deploy unlimited nodes in this network now. And then in addition to that, we can edit our network settings. So we can change various things about how people can access the network, what that network looks like. And then even more than that, we now have access to all the nodes in the network and can even edit them if we want. So we can make changes to them, like their address and how they access, what's an egress and ingress, and etc. So it gives us a lot more control over the network. And those are the basics of the access control levels. So there is one other concept worth noting here in our users management for enterprise, which is groups. So here we have a default group of star, which determines which networks you have access to. So let's create a new user group and call it DevOps. So we create that user group, and then we have the DevOps group. What can we do with this? So let's create a new network and see what that looks like. So here's our new network. And here we have some default access levels. So by default, you have no access and a node limit of 0 and a client limit of 0. So let's create that. And why does it work that way? Well, because all groups are allowed by default. That's the star group. So everyone is added to the star group, and the star group is the allowed groups by default. So you could say, for instance, we have a default access level of 1 and a node limit of 3 and a client limit of 5. And then anyone who joins this network, or anyone who joins Netmaker at all actually, will have access to this network with these levels. So we should be able to test that out. And so let's join as a different user. Okay, so here we're logging in. And again, we gotta wait for that data to load. And look at that, we have access to our Netmaker network, but none of the other ones. So we have node access and remote access management. There's no gateways on this network, so we can't access anything yet. But yeah, basically we get that default level of access. Okay, so coming back here, I guess a couple other notes on the groups. So yeah, we can obviously here remove that default allowed group and say instead, let's just make that DevOps. And then only the DevOps users will get this default level of permission. And on our user side, we determine which groups users are in. So here we're going to say Bob is in the star group and in DevOps. So he's going to be able to join that network by default, but not everyone else. And yeah, that's basically how it works in Netmaker Enterprise. So if you have any questions or comments about how this works, please let me know in the comments. And thank you for watching.